As the fight to contain the varroa mite continues, speaking of petitions, there's a call for the pesticide used to destroy affected beehives to be banned. A petition is being tabled today in State Parliament, and it's a big one. It has 34,000 signatures. Earlier, I caught up with the Central Coast woman who started it and the spokesperson from Save the Bees Australia to find out why they're so concerned about this. Over 33,000 people, you might be one of them, have signed a petition started by a local woman. Kate Mason is from the new group, Community Voice Australia, Central Coast, and Kate's fighting for immediate action, for a stop to the poisoning of millions, possibly millions, of native Australian bees through Fipronil that is currently occurring in New South Wales under government orders to try to contain the varroa mite outbreak on the Central Coast. Good morning to you, Kate. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
And good morning to Simon Mulvaney from Save the Bees Australia. G'day, Simon.
G'day, Scott. Thanks for taking this on.
No, it's good to talk to you both, and obviously 33,000 people have concerns about this. Kate, what are your worries about this? Because I've asked the question a number of times of New South Wales DPI. We've been talking to them a lot and saying, do we know the impact of this on native insects? Is that what you're concerned about?
Yeah, so I saw, I think it was the end of last year, I saw that fipronil baiting was going to happen through the red zones with the for the bees, and I was concerned about that and what the long-term effects of that might be. So I reached out to Save the Bees Australia, and then I started to have a look at the corporate interests embedded in government decision making around bees, and I became increasingly alarmed regarding that. So what I came across with Fipronil is that the Australian Native Bee Association states the pesticide Fipronil is being used in a baiting program in the red zones. This pesticide is highly toxic to stingless native bees and may remain active within these areas for up to 3 years. So what happens is the European honeybees will collect the toxic sugar syrup and take it back to nests inside hollow trees, and then of course the feral nests will die, leaving the stores of honey which will be contaminated with fipronil inside the trees, and this can stay toxic for up to 3 years. And they say native stingless bees, other nectar-feeding insects, reptiles, birds and mammals may visit these nests and collect contaminated honey, and then they're going to die from fipronil poisoning.
Has any evidence-based research been done on its impact on native insects and animals?
No, there hasn't been. And they're actually using fipronil off-label. It's never been designed to be used to actually kill honeybees. And yeah, as far as we're concerned with all the questions we've asked, is that there has been no study into the effect that this fipronil could have long-term. And I was speaking to a beekeeper from, the New South Wales Apiarist Association, and he said it could be hugely concerning even if they got rid of the mites, and once bees go back into these areas, it could keep on killing. So, it seems like there's just been such an intent to kill, and no one's really thought about the consequences that might be long-term.
So is it only the bees taking it back to the hollows, Simon, or is it the native insects as well going to these traps containing the poison?
Obviously, the bees aren't going to be, obedient in regards to going into the traps. So obviously, all insects are going to go to the traps. The DPI have said that they're going to monitor what bees come in and out. And,
well, they said to us that in their research, they hadn't seen native bees in the places where they'd put the honey trap, so to speak.
Yeah, well, we have had people come to us with dead native bees near the traps, like who keep stingless bees. And we've also seen disturbing footage of mammals like bandicoots dying quite near the traps. And they have the symptoms of fipronil poisoning, like shaking and stuff, when they're dying. So, that's the anecdotal evidence that we've already seen. And we've also seen people working for the DPI saying that it's impossible for them to be there the whole time watching every single bee come in. And now, I don't know if you've heard recent news, but they've found a lot more cases of varroa. So those resources are going to be even more spread.
Kate and Simon joining us from Community Voice Australia, Central Coast Kate Mason and Simon Mulvaney from Save the Bees Australia. What can you tell us about Fipronil? Why is it banned for certain uses, or what's its history, what's its story when it comes to being used as a pesticide?
I think the reason it's been banned overseas is because it actually has been so effective in killing bees. So where they've had bee crises in Europe and also some places, other places around the world, they've found that this chemical is the cause for, massive bee collapses. I think that's part of, it's probably been designed for termites or something, so the termite can take it back and kill the whole colony. So that's what they're planning with the honeybees. But I've also heard concerns that, it may not be that effective in killing off the whole hive. And I don't know if you've heard reports, but I'm getting reports from Newcastle where there've been poisoning for a long time and there's still a lot of wild honeybees in the area. So the other fact is whether it's going to be effective in killing bees from all the way from Sydney to Newcastle, which just seems like a ludicrous attempt.
So Fipronil was labelled a high acute risk to honeybees by the European Food Safety Authority in 2013 and was subsequently banned in 45 EU countries and restricted in the US, Canada and UK.
All right, Kate and Simon, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ABC Central Coast, it's 7:21. That's Community Voice Australia Central Coast, Kate Mason and Simon Mulvaney from Save the Bees Australia. And the MP tabling the petition is Upper House MLC Emma Hurst from the Animal Justice Party. And Emma joins us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to talk to you. We do have a call into New South Wales DPI, who of course have just boosted this effort to get rid of the bees in the red zones with another $33 million of taxpayers' money. Why have you got behind this petition?
Look, I've heard from the community who have reached out to our office who are really concerned about the use of Fipronil and it's causing huge community stress. And this is a community that's already dealt with a lot in regards to floods and other disasters. And we're seeing estimates of as high as 500 million bees that are being killed as part of this eradication program. The DPI have spent over a year trying to wipe out these mites in New South Wales with no luck, and that eradication zone just keeps expanding. Look, history shows that complete eradication of these mites is virtually impossible. It's difficult to see how this ongoing culling program by the DPI can continue to be justified with no end in sight.
But surely there's some evidence from DPI that this won't be harmful to the environment or to native bees and other insects. We were told they'd be monitoring the traps where they put the poison out and so on and so forth. Have you seen any evidence of that?
Look, I mean, I've certainly been talking with community members and as your listeners just heard, there has been evidence of native bees being killed. Now, these mites don't actually affect native bees, but we know that the poison certainly does. So what we're looking here is what long-term impacts will this have on our native bees? And we know how important it is to protect our native bees. There's an increasing recognition of the importance of them for the environment and biodiversity and the survival of all species. We really need to be looking at ways to protect our native bees, not using lethal poisons that could potentially wipe them out. So we're looking at unintended consequences here, and we desperately need to be reassessing that now that we're over a year down the track and we're still expanding eradication zones.
What do they do in countries where this pesticide is banned when it comes to controlling Varroa? And obviously it's effective in killing bees because that's one of the major reasons it was banned in other countries. It killed honeybees.
Absolutely. So look, what we need to actually be looking at places like the US and other countries as the best way to sort of control and manage the problem using a variety of safe methods. We should be looking at providing training sessions across New South Wales in regards to managing the mites. We need to look at increased monitoring and screening of hives, improved husbandry practices, and the use of less harmful chemicals. So we should actually be speaking with other countries. And what I'm hearing from the community is that, instead of an eradication program, we probably need at this point to be moving to a management program, and that's where we can learn from other countries.
We're speaking with MLC Emma Hurst, who'll be petitioning the government, putting in a 34,000 signature petition about the concerns about Fipronil, the chemical that's being used to control or kill the bees and control the varroa mite in our area. Dennis called in, Emma, to ask about the CAS, Australian Industrial Chemicals Registry, that enables you to find out more about these pesticides and chemicals. Do you know about that? He wants to know the number so he can look it up and see what it says about it.
Look, I don't know the number, but I mean, certainly if you have a look online as well and look up Fipronil and really look into this poison, I mean, I'm quite concerned. I just heard on your radio this morning that people are saying that there are native animals, mammals, that are also being potentially killed by secondary poisoning. We really need to be having a really good look at the effects of Fipronil, particularly given that it's banned in so many other places around the world.
What happens after this is tabled? And also in the petition, they're calling for a judicial inquiry into the relationship between government, industry-funded lobby groups and organisations representing chemical companies' interests.
Yeah.
Apparently they're well entrenched into some of the industry groups that are lobbying the government.
Absolutely. I've actually got another notice of motion that I'm putting on today about an independent report that was released in the operation of the APVMA, which has absolutely damning findings about the state of the APVMA, including poor governance, workplace culture, leadership, and of course the regulatory capture within the APVMA, a lack of enforcement and regulatory action against industry. Which is another highly concerning issue around this, given that this is the body that approves so many poisons to be used.
They were found to be rather in disarray, weren't they? In a government inquiry, they seem to be in a bad shape. Absolutely.
And look, it was the APVMA that was responsible for approving the use of Fipronil. And as I said, that poison's banned in the US, it's banned in the United Kingdom, European Union. It poses serious threat to native bees, insects.
What's your alternative, though? Do we have to just live with the varroa mite like they are in New Zealand and like they are in other countries now?
Well, look, I guess that's something that, I'm not a scientist, and so I'm not sort of going to be, stepping in and sort of saying what the best strategy there is. All I do know is that it does look unlikely that an eradication is going to be successful, given that it's been over a year now. And we do need to be implementing management programs and talking with those other countries, because it does seem that no other country has actually been successful at eradicating this mite. It's very unfortunate that it has come to Australia, but eradication will be extremely difficult, and I'm not even sure if it's actually possible. And that's where I say, we need to be looking at those training sessions, monitoring, screening of hives, improved husbandry practices, and the use of less harmful chemicals.
Emma Hurst, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Emma Hurst there, MLC, who'll be tabling that petition about the Fipronil and the concerns of people in its impact. We have invited the Department of Primary Industries onto the show to respond to these claims. We would love to hear from them in regards to the science behind the use of this chemical that's banned in the US and many other countries, and its residual impact on native animals and native insects, because we need those native animals and insects, don't we, to step up where the bees are gone on the Central Coast, particularly to do the pollination work. So hopefully we'll get some of those answers from the powers that be for you, no pun intended, very soon on the program here at ABC Central Coast. It's